Thank you, Gary and Nancy, and thank you for this invitation, and thank you for this warm introduction. I'm very happy that after 3 years of pandemic, we can all meet in person again. I visited Hong Kong U for many times, so so happy come along again. My major research direction, research interests are learning analytics and learning design. In the past several years, my team and I are trying to combine these two directions into an adaptive learning system. So I titled my talk to as you can see from the screen, we are trying to linking the research of learning analytics with learning design in a adaptive learning system. So I'm going to introduce what we have been doing in the past several years. This is I'm going to cover in these 3 topics in today's talk. First, introduce why we are doing this, why we are trying to develop an adaptive learning system when there's already so many so-called adaptive learning system on the market. And the second, how we doing this, how we are combine learning analytics with the learning design in one single systems. And third one is how the system we designed are going, or what the current system look like, and how what is the effect of the system, and what we envision in the future. This is my main coverage in the talk. So first, let me try to talk about the background related to this topic. What we have already know about adaptive learning, and why do we need to design a new adaptive learning system? Adaptive learning in Chinese, 因材施教, is one of the most profound educational concept idea expounded as early as 2000 years by Confucius. So this is in Chinese is a very famous learning concept. However, adaptation is not as easy to put into practice in modern schooling as it was 2000 years ago. Obviously, in Confucius' date, it could be very easy to assess every single student by and provide individualized learning, but not a easy way to do at modern school. When human teachers are not good at adapting learning materials and providing individual learning innovation when they are facing so many students, dozens of students at the same time. So in this regard, we are trying to use technology or AI to do so. This is where we can develop an adaptive learning system to help students learn adaptively. There are already, as I mentioned before, there are already so many so-called adaptive learning systems. And there's 2 different approaches to do so. One is called intelligent tutoring systems, in short ITS. The adaptation approach is to provide adaptive tutoring for fine-grained knowledge. And the other is called adaptive education hypermedia systems. The adaptation approach is to offer adaptive learning at a curriculum level by evaluating the learner's broader understanding of the learning material. Usually, the two different approaches is that the ITAs focus on the learner's inner world. In another word, the fine-grained knowledge acquisition process in the learning, where the adaptive hypermedia system aims to personalize the learning path in a broader way, in the hyper way, and to recommend adaptive learning resources by recommend how directions the learner should go. There are already so many mature products of adaptive learning systems on the market. These are some of them. No matter what the adaptive approach these products adopted, the majority of adaptive learning applications focus on the mastery of knowledge, acquisition of fine-grained knowledge, or acquisition of knowledge. Also, the adaptation was realized against the learner's profile or learner's footprint in knowledge mastery. Accordingly, the learner profile are built with a focus on knowledge mastery only. As you can see from the screen, the dashboard display of most of the products starts from the perspective of knowledge points, and the construction of learning focus on the judgment of knowledge mastery. The adaptation is accordingly provided against the mastery of knowledge. At the same time, research communities are focused on the adaptive learning. But similarly, the research also focused on knowledge acquisition, focused on how to use technology or how to advance how to say 算法 to advance to make adaptation more suitable to different learners. We also reviewed the existing national and international literature. The review shows that the majority of previous studies related to adaptive learning occurred mainly in higher education settings and focused on some subjects like computer science, mathematics, because these subjects are easy to make adaptation in the fine-grained knowledge level. The adaptive approach focuses on providing adaptive feedback and adaptive navigation for students against knowledge acquisition and students' learning styles. Students' learning styles and students' learning styles only are usually observed as learners' characteristic that considered into the adaptive learning system, because learning style might be the easiest way to consider as one factors of learners' character, more other than the or in addition to the learning acquisition. So based on the current literature review articles, we can see most of the previous work used a learning style from the cognition domain to model individual personal profile or personal students or students' traits. And the computer-based detection technique was commonly applied to identify learners' personal trait in adaptive learning environment. However, from this review, we can see that existing research in learner diagnosis is limited. Diagnosis of current of student learning progress from a holistic perspective is still lacking in the current literature. That is to say that diagnosed students only focused on the mastery of fine grade knowledge, but not consider other aspects of learning. But we all understand that learning is not only the master of the knowledge point, but also related to how a student motivated himself and how the way he learned the knowledge. So these are not considered in the current research and the practice of adaptive learning. And one of the factors is that data related to students' behavior of their learning characteristic and their background knowledge related to knowledge acquisition is not enough. In other words, the research of learning analytics of students' learning characteristic and the results of their learning is not used in the adaptive learning system. So in summary, previous research has focused more on student knowledge acquisition, but ignored the fact that the purpose of learning should not be limited to only limited to focus on knowledge acquisition only. Education itself needs to help students to develop in all aspects as a whole person or whole human being. So the design of adaptive learning system should also not be limited to helping students master knowledge. From science of learning, we know that 21st century skill is a mission, is a vision to for students' development, including skills, abilities, and the learning dispositions that we see is required for success in 21st century societies and the workplace. These skills differ from traditional academic skills in that they are not primarily content knowledge based. They are literacy. They are not focused only on knowledge acquisition. So in order to comprehensively understand the various skills and the abilities of learners, it is necessary to construct a full-scale learner profile to better understand the learning process of learners. In other words, not only focus on knowledge mastery, but also need to consider the full scale of the factors related of students' 21st skill development. So we can use the question is, how can we use technology tools to collect data along with the learning process? In other words, use research of learning analytics to better understand learning, including their mastery of knowledge and how the way they develop their skills and knowledge, to track students' digital, in other words, to track students' digital learning footprint, hopefully as full as possible, to build a comprehensive digital portfolio of learners. So the vision is that we need to fully use technology tools to fully apply, to fully integrate knowledge of learning analytics to track, to understand, to diagnose students' development as full as possible, to provide adaptation to students' development as far as possible. In the research area, in the past decade, learning analytics has become one of the fields of educational technology and receives growing attention from educational researchers and practitioners. From these pictures, we can see that the fast increase of the research in this field is learning analytics, and it also be the most developed research area of learning science. The picture shows that we have already the techniques, methods, and applications of learning analytics to understand learning, and where the environment where the learning takes place. Many studies have used learning analytics to collect various types of data about learners, so as to create learner profile. These learner profiles have been used to better understand learning. For example, the literature here shows the Corris and colleagues developed learning analytics dashboards that include learners' assignment performance to provide personalized recommendations for reading and activities. This is only one case of so many similar researches that use learning analytics to better understand students' learning. Such research results are very helpful to inform us how to better understand students' learning shortcomings and advantages of students' learning, and accordingly can help us to make decisions on how and where to provide adaptation to students' learning. So this is where we know that learning analytics should be fully combined or used in the idea of adaptive learning systems. So when building a comprehensive learner profile, as I already mentioned before, we should not only focus on knowledge acquisition, but also consider students' competence and skills according to 21st century skills theory. Some studies have used learning analytic techniques to collect learners' behavior data to explore, to analyze students' competence or skills, such as critical thinking skills. However, there is still a gap between two groups of studies. One is learning analytics, another is adaptive learning systems. This gap is that research and the practice between providing individualized learning or adaptive learning are still not directions, not have yet to be combined. So this is where we need to integrate research and practice between learning analytics and providing adaptive learning system to provide a more suitable way for individualized or 因材施教. Our adaptive learning system is therefore trying to trying to use learning analytics to measure learners comprehensively, not only knowledge acquisition, but also competence and emotions along the way of students students in the learning process, to thus can depict a full-scale learner profile, and based on this to help learners progress more comprehensively and effectively. So this answers the question why we are still need to develop adaptive learning system where already so many systems there in the market. And next question is how could we build a full-scale learner profile? How could we detect learners' footprint, protract students' footprint? We need to know all aspects of the learner's development and to build a learner profile. So in this section, I'm going to talk about how we are doing this, about we depict a full-scale learner profile, and both from theories and from the practice. We hope to meet halfway to combine theory and theory-based to use try a theory-based and data-driven way, meet halfway. This figure shows a trend of how we understand learning, and that's how we think about adaptive learning. As I discussed in the previous slides, learning is not just about knowledge acquisition. So therefore, adaptive learning is developing from the perspective of single subject knowledge mastery to comprehensive competence development. Our understanding is developing from the traditional, we take learning is knowledge acquisition, but now we understand that learning is develop competence develop. From this figure, we can see the trend of therefore the trend of design adaptive learning is also developing from against what we understand learning is. Originally, the main goal of adaptive learning is to facilitate learners to master the structured fine-grained knowledge point. Individualization could be taken as a benefit that technology can bring to the learner. Now we are inclined to think learning as competence development. So what adapted in the learning system need to think wide, think broader, not limited to knowledge point, not limited to knowledge acquisition. So in this regard, adaptation is designed allowing learners to solve complex real-world problems, diagnose and evaluate their competence development level, and provide a path to adapt to their cognition development and emotion state. So in the process of design adaptive learning system, we should not only focus on the knowledge point, knowledge acquisition, that students need to master, but also need to pay attention to competence development. The realization of the adaptation depends on how well the system know about the learners. This is what we mentioned a lot in the concept of learners' profile by tracking learners' digital footprint by collected data across the learning process. So we discuss the trend of the adaptation. The learner profile also has trained originally the learner's profile or digital footprints focus only on the status of mastery of independent domain knowledge. The digital footprint only focus on the state, the level of knowledge acquisition. But from now, we understand the competence-based adaptive learning. The learner's profiles need to emphasize not only on the acquisition of mastery, but also the development of learners' competence and their emotional intelligence along the way of their learning process. This is why we use the phrase of footprint, digital footprint, and with the data of the footprint to develop a full-scale learner profile, and the full-scale learner profile could be the source of the diagnosis of the student's development and could be the source of the diagnosis to provide adaptation of the student's development. So to depict the details of a learner profile, I use only one perspective as an example. We can take cognition development as one of the perspective. Learners' cognition development is portrayed not only on their academic development level. This is a traditional way of the adaptive learning focused. So not only the academic development, but also the extent of their knowledge mastery, but also on their practical innovation, thinking ability, and the learning abilities. In this regard, we can take the research on the learner analytics as our input to build learning profiles in the system. We know that what the community of the learning analytics has been doing is exactly what we are trying to do in this one single learning systems. So the comprehensive portrait of students not only include their levels of knowledge mastery, but also focus on their overall development in various aspects, as well as their emotions, attitude toward their learning, and their personal literacy. The mastery of knowledge can generate obtained through testing, but competence and the emotion cannot be tested like knowledge acquisition. So this is the most difficult part of the track. How can we track the student footprint? How can we collect the data of students' development along the way of learning? This is where we need to follow the practice, follow the research method of learning analytics. Just like this slide shows, there's various ways of learning analytics to collect data of students' learning process, like using simulated tasks to collect learning and their contextual data, and analyze and depict learners' profile, reporting their comprehensive literacy and skills. For example, these simulated tasks could be designed as learning scenarios, like solve complex problems, like students critical thinking, engaged in critical thinking, engaged in collaborative learning, and engaged in design thinking. Basically, we are taking our research work in learning analytics into this adaptive learning system, bring the design of learning scenarios, virtual learning environments, and gamified learning design to design the new adaptive learning system to construct a comprehensive learning system to build a full-scale students' digital footprint. In most adaptive learning systems, the dimension of knowledge is commonly used. The dimension of knowledge is the basic is the most important factors. We can combine the learning tasks, simulated learning tasks, gamified learning tasks, and knowledge graph to obtain learners' proficiency in knowledge and provide some assistance. Each gamified learning tasks can be the test for one or more knowledge paths. So traditional knowledge graph can still be a very important part of the adaptive learning system. For example, to collect data on students' problem solving and logical thinking ability, we can design simulated problem solving tasks like shown in this slide, not rather than only provide test items, question items to ask students choose between multiple choice questions. We design this kind of simulated problem solving tasks to present students with a story to combine with some question need to solve, and the students in this simulated task can solve problem by providing their understanding of this knowledge. This is a way we use learning design in the adaptive learning system. This is also the way of learning analytics. In the research of learning analytics, many findings also developed in characterize learners in various dimensions. In the development of our adaptive learning system, we aim to integrate research findings of learning analytics of characterize students, what kind of students, what type of students, what kind of students characteristics. So this is one of the screen that in our design, we combine our previous research of learning analytics with gamified learning design to engage students in the learning process. By the footprint students left in the gamified learning tasks, we can diagnose students' state of their characteristic, including their emotion state, their trait of motivation, and to better understand students' characteristic. Also, in previous research of learning analytics, we typically, we would use learning tests to collect students' behavior behavior data to diagnose their collaborative behaviors, collaborative characteristic according to the characteristic about their collaborators. So in our system, we also incorporate the design approach for data collection from the learning analytic research, and we have designed a series of level up tasks to provide learners with a range of task oriented problems by students solving these task-based questions. We also provide us information of understand students' knowledge full characteristics, including their knowledge mastery, their competence, their literacy from multiple aspects. Additionally, prior research on learning analytics indicate that collaboration among students can enhance students' collaborative skills. Therefore, we also provide the learners team. The team could be the team with their peers and or the team with their AI companions, and provide the students with emotion mentor for their learning process. This is because we want students to have opportunity for collaborative learning and proactively monitor their emotional change during the learning process, and hoping to stimulate students' subjective initiative and cultivate positive and healthy learning attitude. When students encounter emotion issues during their learning process, they can seek help from emotion mentor at any time. In this system, we have designed a intelligent intelligent guide function for adaptive learning process. This AI robot will provide students with service, including real-time feedback on their learning problems, provide hint, provide method, provide emotion guidance when students need it. The AI component, we use this meter named Xiaoqing, could be AI companion or AI tutor or an intimate friend to be with the student whenever he or she needs assistance. This is a design of a screen in our real system. The way of the communication is not as real as this slide shows. Also, the data of the chart could also be the data of the chart could also be collected as a data source. If the data is big enough, it could be also be used to diagnose the emotion state of the student. So in summary, the adaptive learning system design, we trying to integrate findings of our previous learning analytics research. In other words, we trying to put our research of learning analytics into this adaptive learning system. The simulated learning tasks, the gamified learning system, the AI companion system are all product of our learning analytic research. What we are trying to do is bring the research in our learning analytics into this adaptive learning system. So we aim to by combining the learning analytics, we aim to collect data on students' behaviors from various aspects, which include their knowledge, competence, and emotion states. Also, the data source include not only students' final response on each knowledge component, but also the data reflecting how they solve a problem, how they act as at a problem, how they collaborate with their peers, how they seek help when they face problems. These are all data that will be tracked along the way as one of the as a data of the students' footprint. This is how we are trying to do in the design of adaptive learning systems. So once a full-scale learning profile has been constructed, we can have a clear understanding of the students' current level of their knowledge mastery, their competence, and their emotion state. We can infer the range of tasks that they will be able to accomplish next. So in our design, the system offer an adaptive learning path for learners and functions as a personalized learning resources based on this full-scale learner profile. In summary, the adaptive learning system we are currently working on not only focus on learners' knowledge mastery, but also on their competence development and emotional change during the learning process. In this system, we adopt the research result from learning analytics community and to build a full-scale learning profile to trying to track student digital footprint as rich as possible to understand students' learning and their learning traits, characteristics that may influence their learning and the competence development, thus can provide students with adaptive learning paths. So the vision, the design of the adaptive learning system is just as I introduced. So what is the current development according to our design? Here, after I'm going to introduce the real system at this current stage. So this is what the system looks like. From this screen, I show three screen of the system. The top left is a page of the tutoring page of Xiaoqing, who keeps company with the students through the learning journey. The AI tutor, the AI companion, can be with the students through all the way through their journey of the learning, and using a friendly conversation, students can solicit or set up questions to start their learning journey from this homepage. The left lower figure demonstrates the learning design in our adaptive learning systems. The learning design, from this figure, we can see that students could be go through a series of gamified, simulated learning tasks, and during the learning tasks, they can solve problems with their peers to demonstrate their knowledge, their competence, their knowledge mastery, and left the tricks, they left their footprint as the immersion, as their immersions. In other words, the students can go through a series of challenging learning tasks with a game-like manner. The learning behaviors will emerge along the way of performing the learning tasks and solving problems. So along the learning journeys, students, the data of students' learning behavior were collected, and the learner profile is gradually enriched, forming a rich footprint, forming a full-scale learner profile. So in our adaptive learning system, we provide students with corresponding learning materials to knowledge, to master knowledge, because learning still need to master knowledge. We not focus only on knowledge master, but not to not to I don't know how to say this. Still need to master knowledge. So still students can quickly grasp knowledge through multimedia materials and consolidate what they have learned by clicking to enter questions and challenge pages. Some questions might be very simple tasks, and others may involve complex problem-solving tasks. Through the process, the learners' knowledge, master, competence, and their behaviors will be collected, and their knowledge, master, and competence also could be enhanced. So the entire process of answering questions generate data on students' learning behavior, and this data we call students' data footprint can be left in the system. So the system promptly display whether students answer correct or not, allow students to visually track their challenge progress. In addition, students can access hints at any time. The hints could call the companions to communicate, to make chat with students to answer questions, no matter the question is about the knowledge itself or about why the students like or don't like the learning or whatever could be. So at the same time, the learning suggestions will be given based on this round of learning. The students' competence analysis and comparison with the class competence and the coverage competence levels would be given to the students. And the adaptive learning system usually provides learners with suitable questions based on their individual learning situations, like this slide shows. And students can get a clear picture of their levels of academic development in all aspects through their dashboard. This dashboard is also a good display of students' profile. It provides full-scale view of students' current knowledge, competence, and their emotions. Of course, current system can only detect part of the full-scale footprint because it needs much more data that can fully depict the students' development in all the way along. This slide shows some details of learning analytics of students' learning. It's very small. Basically, it shows details of the learning analytics of students' competence development. And this slide shows details of the learning analytics, not only depict the students' mastery of knowledge, but also depict the process of students' learning and will be contribute to students for skill profile. It's very small that I cannot see different the details of the screen, but the essence of this system, of this picture, is that the process could be tracked and analyzed and diagnosed as shows the results of the learning process to help understand why the students develop why the students what is the students' current state of the learning result and the learning state. Teachers are able to get an overview of students' learning process through the system, quickly locate specific analysis target by filtering the box. This screen shows students' footprint as their online activities, and this is one of students' performance of their online learning performance. So through the system, teachers can understand the mastery level of students in the class and analyze the mastery level of students in the class with spatial attention, and analyze the trend of mastery level of students in the class under the corresponding knowledge point. Students' details and high frequency error analysis could also provide to teachers for them to produce their further actions. The system also provide support online mapping of knowledge graph with while enable teachers to modify or supplement learning materials such as video or and other classroom resources based on students' adaptive learning reports. For now, the audience might have the question why you need to design the teacher's role in an adaptive learning system. This is also the question we raised for ourselves, because the adaptive learning system itself usually do not need a role of teacher. The system act as a teacher, but in the real practice, when we use this AI-like learning tools in school, teachers must have a role to play. So this is why we design the teacher's role for them to check, to review the details report of students' learning, and they can have a goal. They can have a modify in the system to do whatever they need to participate in the further adaptive learning design. So this is why we put teachers' role in this system. So the system, the system, we only realize that this is only the stage 1 system development. We put this system used in dozens of schools last year. Last year, it's very difficult to make this system used in schools because many schools are closed, but still we tried to use the system in schools across Shanghai, Jiangsu, Sichuan province from the last half years. The test has involved around 50 classes and students in grade 4 across 7 has been used in various ways, including pre-class preview, in-class learning, and post-class review, or used as after-class interest groups, and also used as at-home self-learning activities. The data collected during this testing period will help to further refine the system and improve the adaptivity to meet the unique needs of the student. This is different types of using our pilot system use. So it could be used as pre-class, in-class, post-class, interest operation, and self-study at home. I'm not going through the details how this obviously it's you can easily guess how different types are operated in different types of schools. So most of the students who use a system reported materials very interesting questions, challenging, stimulate, interesting, and so enforce. And the teachers make students practice more extensively and have the chance to answer more diverse types of questions. And this kind of positive response from school students and the teachers. Of course, we understand that this is only the first step of our vision, because for rich footprint of students still need to explore other ways. What we have tried in this phase is not enough, is far way around far is not enough. So next we are trying to continue the development in the improved adaptive learning system. Improve the AI companion could be our next, because it could be an easy way to track students footprint by emotional conversations between students and companions, we all see the impressive power of ChatGPT. We are now trying to adopt the large language model to empower this AI companion. We believe that the conversation between AI and the student could leave more information of students' inner trait, inner characteristic of how their motivation, how their real inner state. So this is what we are trying to do now, because we have top companies who are developing similar large language model, and we can put this model into our conversation companion, AI companions. Okay, my time is up, so I'm quick summarize my talk. We have developed this kind of new adaptive learning system, trying to bring research of learning analytics, trying to collect students' footprint as rich as possible, trying to analyze the students' learning profile as full as possible. Now we are on the way to this direction. We see it's just a first step, and we have long way to go to reach this goal. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Koo, for your wonderful sharings. And of course, I'm aware of the time right now, but of course, we are very thrilled to have your, sharings with us, and also something that we can extend to the school learning. So I guess we can take one question, very quick questions, to see if there's any.
So thank you, Professor Gu. It's really inspiring. So I do have two questions, but I'll continue.
Keep it one, yeah.
Yeah. So about the gamified platform, I was wondering, for example, like the AI chat box, and you kind of ask the students can ask the question to the robot and it will answer. So I was wondering, does it directly give the answer or show the steps?
Actually, the later one, show the steps and conversation with the student to trying to ask him what is what make this is a question to him or her, and trying to help him find the solution himself. So this is how the way we are designed. For of course, for some questions, maybe short and quick answer, but what we are trying to do is to give students tips, not the answers.
So if the students ask a question like, can you give me the answer? It will not give the answer, but only give the steps, right?
Yes, we give students tips. Tips means 提示, not the answer.
Yeah, I mean, like if a student get lazy and he or she just want to get the answer, and they ask like, can you just give me the answer? How's your platform work with that?
No, yeah, it's a very challenging question. What we have done in current system is not have the solution for what you described scenario, because some students might just skip that step.
Okay, sorry, can I just have one quick follow-up question?
Okay.
All right, appreciate it. So I was also a question about the gamified platform. So how about the team? I don't quite understand how the team work, like for the real people, and also I believe there's robots or something like that. So how's that work?
The robots actually is just the robots at this stage of the system. The robot can only act as a companion. It's not in this current state. It has not be a learner collaborative learning partners. Not yet. It's our vision in the future development. We can use AI as part of the collaborative group member, but not yet developed. In current system, it's only a provider of the tips for students when they have questions.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's why I think what Professor Koo has mentioned is about the role of the teachers in the adaptive learning system, which is very important to support the student learning with these data. So I guess we can have ongoing discussions, but without further ado, let's give another round of applause to Professor Koo.